Hey, thanks everybody for coming. You guys good in the back? We will dive right in. I know it's been an interesting few days. Lutz, Diego, from your point of view, want to give us a perspective?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I want to first start by thanking Olaf. These are never easy decisions for a club, and we have huge respect for him. He left Sweden to move here. He came to our club, he came to our city, he came to our league, and he brought a lot of hard work. He spoke transparently and directly what he thought. He pushed everyone to high standards, and he didn't give up even when times were tough. We are obviously disappointed that it didn't work out, but we are confident that he will find success, and we wish him the best. Over this time, we also got to know both Olaf and his wife, Carolina, on a personal level. It has been great to see the amazing couple they are and the amazing human qualities that they have, and we will miss them both. Secondly, let me also make it clear that Lutz and I both take full responsibility for where we are. We are clearly frustrated to be in this position, especially so shortly after Olaf's appointment. We are obviously reflecting on that recruitment process and the appointment of the head coach to see what we can learn so we can minimize the chances of this happening again. But the reality is the season isn't going as we envisioned, and we are close to halfway through that season. So as difficult as it may be, we need to make decisions looking forward rather than back. And we felt that the best chances of success are by course correcting and making some tough decisions. We feel confident that it was the right decision, and now we're ready to look forward with what's left in the season.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add here. Also, thank you to Olaf, for putting a lot of effort in. There is never a perfect moment to let somebody go. We all know that, and yeah, it's now for us to look forward into the future. We need to make decisions. The transfer window is coming up. We still believe that we have the tools to rescue the season, to play a good next part of the season. And I think that's the most important part for us now to close that chapter, but be thankful and be reflective what went wrong, but then also move forward.
All right, start us off, Tom.
I know you want to look forward, but what went wrong? I mean, and you're going to make a large investigation, but as you sit here now, we're in the middle of end of May. What went wrong?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously first think about the process that we followed. Was there anything that we missed in the process? I would say that, I've been involved in many of these now, and I feel that it was one of the most thorough and longest processes I've been in to select a head coach. That is not to say that it is foolproof, as we can see now. But we used a lot of data. We consulted a very large pool of candidates. We didn't restrict ourselves. We had many, many conversations. We searched for references, but I'm sure that there was still something that we missed. There is still, as a head coach is a head coach and its environment always. And you try to make the best decision based on what you're able to see from a head coach, and that doesn't always transport identically from one environment to the rest. A lot of the things that we saw in Olaf are still true. He spent 4 or 5 years as a head coach, achieved a lot of success with his team, played a high intensity type of football, developed young players, overperformed versus the squad that he had. Those things are still true. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to replicate that level of success here. And once we felt that we had given that process enough time, it was the moment to look forward and to make that decision.
And obviously, you just finished a coaching search not that long ago, so you have all sorts of data. Do you expect this one to go quicker, or do you have to change what you're looking for? Are you looking for a different coach now than you were when you hired Olaf?
I would say a lot of the things that we were looking for then are not dissimilar from what we will look for now. Hopefully, we will have more success in finding one that fits better and produces more impact. I would also say that we are not rushing either. We had the benefit last year of being able to count on John Hackworth, and we have the benefit now of being able to count on David Critchley. So we want to make the right decision, especially after this one having lasted so little time, and we're not in a rush or desperation to sign anyone now.
You expect to coach before the season is over?
I wouldn't say we expect, but it would not be unreasonable to think that David would go back to City 2 at some point during the rest of the season if we're able to find that, interim or permanent head coach.
Brendan?
Gentlemen, either one of you could answer this. I'm curious about Tuesday. Was the decision already made? Was it difficult to have Olaf run the training session and then meet with the media afterwards if something was already done?
Yeah, I mean, we communicated the decision as soon as we were ready with it. That does not mean that it always happens in the most ideal of moments or sequences. But until that point, he was acting head coach and he had to assume the responsibilities of training the team that day and answering to media. As soon as we had the decision taken and discussed with all the right people internally, then we moved to communicate and to speak to him and then the players and the coaching staff immediately. We also thought that it was better to do that Tuesday evening than have him arrive on Wednesday morning for training and surprise him with the news then. So while of course it would have been better if it had been a day with no activity, that wasn't the way it was. And as soon as we were ready with the decision, we communicated.
Lutz, in your statements in the press release, you mentioned wanting to get back to the style, the DNA of what this team is all about. Was there an understanding that Olaf would run a style similar to what you wanted to see? Was there a point where he deviated from that?
Yeah, I think Diego already answered quite a lot of that when we had our interview process, which was good, which was very detailed. There was plenty of talks, there was plenty of data. We had workshops, and that was when we felt what we were looking for was pretty much well communicated, and it was aligned that we wanted to play our City style, which we always said is non-negotiable. That's the way we want to play. We want to be front foot defending. We want to be aggressive. We want to be a pressing team. And unfortunately, we did not really see that much once the season started. I have to say it was also in the starter plan because we wanted to be a bit more better organized defensively, which worked out really well in the first few games where we didn't concede much. We also didn't concede many chances. But the game with the ball, the offensive part, stayed unfortunately behind. And that was the way where I say our playing style was, not really met in the way we wanted it.
Two questions. One, is John Hackworth a candidate for this job or no? And then the second question would be, Lutz, you obviously seem optimistic about the team's possibilities of making the playoffs. Can you share some examples and some reasons why?
Yeah, first one about Hack. I mean, Hack is a technical director. He's had a very important role in the club, and especially with me. There is a transfer window coming up, so it's the bigger picture with Hack, where we talk about strategic alignments with the second team, with the academy, also with the first team. So he has a super important role next to me. He's my right-hand man, and I think right now in that situation, it was clear for us that David Critchley deserves that chance. He has done extremely well as an academy head coach. He has done really well now, especially looking at the playing style, at the way we want to play in City 2, and having a guy which is in since day one, literally a man on the first hour. I think he deserves that chance, and he knows exactly what we expect from him.
So does that mean John is not a candidate for the next coach?
Well, right now he's our technical director, and we have not discussed it or spoken about that.
And then just your optimism, some examples and reasons for your optimism.
Yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic that we get players back now. I'm optimistic with the way David actually had his first sessions, or in general how we speak about football. So I speak with David at least twice a week, regardless what happened now, but also before. I think the way of play, to go back to our basics, I would say, is super important. We believe in Critch. We also believe in the squad, and that's very important that we move forward, try get back to our ways, believe in our playing style, and I thought what worked pretty well towards the end of last season with basically the same squad plus two more additions. is for me very surprising that we do not get any results right now with a team which had, looking at numbers, definitely will have the quality to be a playoff team.
Lynn, go ahead.
Lutz, the other day in the release, you mentioned that this goes beyond results. For you, what were the other things that you saw that made this a tipping point right now to make this move and that it wasn't going to get better going forward?
I mean, results are always important, but results is not just only the results, it's also the performances. I think we had lots of games where we could have won, where we played decent enough to pick up points, but we didn't. And then, of course, it comes down to that, how do we really want to play? So, I mean, as I said before, Diego said it as well, it's an on-field matter. And an on-field matter is my full responsibility. So we had a search and we decided to sign a coach, and we didn't hit what we really wanted to get out of that. But I think we also need to be clear, this is not pointing the finger at Olof Mellberg. I think there is coming a lot of more things into it. That's the players, that's the staff, that's myself as well. And we need to put our head together to find solutions. So I think that's for us the most important part, to not just look back now, point fingers, but to be clear that we have to pull that out of the bad situation together. And that's what we do with the current stuff.
Lynn, we pass back to Bill.
Yeah, Diego Arlutz, with game 17 coming up against Portland, did Olaf indeed have a chance to speak to the players after his exit?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
And also, what is the mood / temperament of the overall squad of the players going into the second half of the season?
I would say that in these moments, the initial mood is always difficult. But the important thing is that difficult moment needs to last very little. And that's what we felt. So yesterday was Critchley's first training session. And of course, the evening of Tuesday with the news and the morning of Wednesday is naturally going to be difficult. We all wanted Olaf to succeed, and we all build relationships and genuinely like Olaf. So that's difficult. But this is a high-performing team that needs to be able to immediately switch and go into thinking about the next game and go into thinking about it with desire and hope and positivity. And David grabbed the bull by the horns on the first training session, had the first meeting with players and coaching staff, of course with Lutz, and they pressed that reset button. Training was great, and we're now looking forward.
To any of you, Lutz or Diego, if David does a good job during his time as an interim, is there a chance for him to stay as a permanent coach? And the other question is, for the type of coaches that you're looking at for now, what type of profile are you looking for a coach that has MLS experience, a European coach again, South American coach? What type of profile are you guys looking for?
I start with the second question. I think the most important thing is that we stick with our style of play, with the philosophy. So MLS experience, of course, it's a very important part, but if you're looking right now through the market, what is available and what we're looking for in a playing style, there is not really that many coaches available right now which hit that. We need a coach who is able to have a good nose for player development. We have a good academy. We have a really good City 2 team. They play some exciting football, and we need to start to play more younger players. So to get also out on the transfer market, to go for younger players in, I think is extremely important. Communication skills, I believe, is something we need to. Good song. Communication skills when the phone rings, is extremely important today. So I think that's definitely something we also, and we need a coach who's active in the community. That's something which I believe St. Louis is a very tight knit when it comes to soccer. Everybody's connected. So we need to get the guys out there. Our players are super active when it comes to that. The coach should do that as well. And the second part with David, David is now in charge. We don't have any timer on it. So in the end of the day, you want to win games. This is what we said. Winning is right now for us the most important thing. We have actually more than 17 games. We have 19 games left, which is more than half of the season, which is 57 points to play for. And if we get enough points. Obviously, we can't think now we have to make the playoffs right now. That would be not realistic. I think it's thinking now from game to game, get back into a flow, get back into a belief, get some confidence back. And I think David Critchley can do that. Diego said the bull in the horns, and that was something yesterday you really felt in the first team talk. You felt it on the training field as well, and you felt it also in the mood of the players that they haven't given up yet, and they're willing to push it through. So let's wait and see. I mean, he's coming in as a caretaker manager for now, and then we will be able to answer that question probably to a later point.
I would just like to emphasize 1 minute on that. We had very transparent and great conversations with David. And I think it's important that everyone feels that this is not a kind of an opportunity to apply pressure on him. Can you do it well enough to get the permanent head coach role? That is not the conversation. This is a developmental coach that we have had in our system for the last 4 or 5 years. He understands our style of play. He has coached many different teams. He's doing a terrific job. He has come down to help us. And if he goes back to City 2, that is success. He will continue developing as a head coach. Of course, anything can happen. But what I don't want, and we didn't want as we spoke to him, this was not a situation where he needs to say, if I don't make it to become a permanent head coach, that is a disappointment. That's not the case. We see this as a really big proof of our belief in him.
Go ahead, Matt Baker.
Diego Lutz, this is the second head coach that you've had to dismiss in both your times. Both head coaches' dismissal comes on the heels of massive winless streaks with a vastly injured roster. You mentioned that you don't want to look back, but you want to look forward. I'm curious, after those dismissals and after last year's 5-month coaching search that led to the hiring of Olaf, how can you reassure fans that you're now going to make the right decision this time?
You know, in the end of the day, it's as we said before, it's tough. You know, 5 months is a really short term. So being now our third in the league, having 2 head coaches is not what was the plan. Obviously, you know, that's the best is if you can keep a coach for many years. But we also have to be clear that if you're looking at the average time of an MLS head coach, that's 2 years. Coaches do not last extremely long in MLS. However, 5 months is not what we wanted. That's something which we definitely have to reflect. And yes, we need to go into a very similar search. As we said, the parameters, what we're looking for in a coach, they have not changed. You know, and I think this is important that we know how we want to be organized as a club, that we know what our roots are, what our values are, how we want to play football, how we want to entertain the fans. And I think entertaining the fans is very important. We always were known for a team who attacks. We were a high-pressing team, an entertaining team, a hard-working team. And I think this is what the people come into the stadium, what they want to see. So that's what we have to get back. And the search will be pretty much similar to last time. But, you know, Matt, as you probably know, in other parts of life, when companies hiring people, you cannot always, you believe you find the perfect fit. But there is some things which sometimes just don't work out 100%. And we realized that. That's why we had to pull the plug in this moment of time. And that was not, again, anything personal regarding Olaf. That had to be, how do we ensure that we can turn the season around? How can we get back to the winning ways? We want to create a winning culture, and we want to be an exciting football team here. And I think that's what we owe the fans. And this is why we had to make this decision. But there is a lot of coaches out there. There will always coaches who will apply, and it's up to us that we get the next one right.
Matt Pacquiao.
Something that was mentioned both in the introductory press conference for Olaf and in your presser on Tuesday was acclimating to the MLS experience. Is there any internal examination of how you guys are handling certain of the MLS intricacies, considering maybe some of that threw off the last few months?
Yeah. If you look at the moment, what coaches out there with MLS experience, it's a very easy list actually to provide. And I think if we only look at MLS experience, but we do not hit the most important part of our search, which is the style of play and the philosophy, then it's a big room for mistake as well. So we are completely open. It doesn't matter if it's a European coach, if it's an American coach, or if it's a coach with MLS experience. It needs to be a fit for our philosophy. Otherwise, we coming again into the same situation that we say, well, we are not playing the way we want to play. So that is the most important part for us. So if we can find an MLS experienced coach which exactly play how we want to play, that's great. But it is something where you cannot just pump on MLS experience as the most important part of it.
But you talked before about having a lot of people in the building who do have that experience. Is there an examination of how you're maybe handling just some of the intricacies in-house already in the sporting office, and maybe how a better way to go forward, hitting this transfer window?
Yeah, I mean, we have coaches now. If you're looking at our whole coaching office, these are guys who are in-house basically since day one. Most of them were working in the academy. Lots of them were working in MLS Next Pro. So having a knowledge about how the league is run, how to travel, how to actually work out an MLS schedule, I don't think that it is rocket science. But of course, it helps if you have a coach who worked at this level for many, many years. We have people in house who know that, and obviously we are a very, very tight group. We have open discussions about all of that. So I think I do not believe that we don't have enough people in house who have a long-term MLS experience. John Hackworth worked in there for many years. I'm here since 5 years. We have guys who worked along others for a long time. So I believe that we have that. And then again, is the coach out there with MLS experience? We will figure that out.
Yeah, and I would say we also haven't come to the conclusion that the fact that he didn't have MLS experience was a big driver of where we are.
Santi, did I see? If not, go back to Jacob.
In terms of wanting to play City SC's way, do you think the roster is constructed with the appropriate talent to play that way, including the non-starting 11 that have been forced to do 90 day in and day out because of injuries? Is the roster constructed with the talent that you need to play that way?
Yeah, I think you kind of answered your own question. When you have 7, 8 starters out, then it is very difficult to get 100% performance on the field. This is very normal. But we are not here to make excuses about injuries, because injuries happening to other teams as well. And we had to deal last year with injuries. Does it have an impact on results? Of course. Does it have to have an impact on playing style? I don't think so. I think if you have young guys out there or teams who are players who are not necessarily starters, they should be very able to get out there, work hard, and actually work within exactly how we want to play football. So I want to give you some numbers. We had last year, after the transfer period, we had 14 games, 6 wins, 4 draws, 4 losses, with exactly the same team, plus Timo Baumgartel and plus Konrad Wallem, who are 2 players who nearly start every single game. So we were right on play, of course. We would have started the season there. We played some entertaining football. We had 3 guys with Becher, with Teuchert and Hartl who had 30 goal contributions in 14 games. It was an MLS high in recent years. So do you think that our players overnight, they just forgot how to play football, or do they still have the same quality and the same talent they had last year?
Jacob?
You guys have mentioned that this is a result of not just Olaf, but everybody needs to be better in this aspect. Have you guys been able to talk to the players? And these are the guys that have been on the field through these early season struggles. What's your message to this roster, who's definitely in a slump to start the season?
Yeah, 100%. I said it before, it is not just Olof Mellberg at all. I mean, there is lots of other factors which coming in not to get the results. And the players are on the field. The players are the ones actually who have their on-field performances. So there is lots of talk. There is lots of discussions, and there also must be accountability. I think the players are very well aware that we're starting now at ground zero. They have to fight again for the starting positions, and we have to win games together. I think this is now a moment when players have to come together, and players need to know that things are not always went perfect with their performances as well. But I think that's a great moment, actually. Diego said it, to reset, to start to believe, also to start to believe each other, work hard on the training field, get back to basics. And most important, go out there on Saturday and start with a win, because that can create momentum. I have a strong feeling that the players believe it. I have a very strong feeling that they believe in David Critchley. And I think that's the mindset, how we need to get forward, still reflect what went wrong, but start again to create a winning mentality.
And sorry, just a quick follow-up.
Just to be clear on the John Hackworth part, Lutz, you said his job as technical director is too important at this time for him to spend so much. Is that correct? And that's why he's at City 2, and that's a part of why he's at City 2 and not stepping in as interim again?
Yeah, 100%. So just let me jump in there one more time. So I think, we have an important transfer window coming up. There is plenty of recruitment has to be done. We have an important part coming up with the academy, with the nationals, City 2. We want to get into the playoffs. So there's a lot of things to do when it comes to the technical part. So we work together hours and hours every day. So that's my most important person on my side. The time he spends now with City 2 is, again, very temporary. Also, the time effort he has to put in is much less than he would have to do with the first team. So this is why, for me, it's not possible now to have Hack not with me in this moment in time, because there is other things than the on-field product to correct and to make better. And that is one of the reasons why obviously we decided to give David a chance, being a current head coach, being every day on the field, being right now in the pulse of the game. So that is why we had these decisions made.
Go online to Justin.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm not there in person today. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Speaking to the youth, as you mentioned earlier, the integration with who Olof Mellberg was playing this year. Obviously, we had Mackay getting more minutes, but outside of that, there wasn't as much integration as maybe you had hoped, given the past with his time at BP. Do you think there was a disconnect with kind of where you all see the academy, where you all see the youth right now and the usage this season? And if so, how do you hope that changes going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the team that Olaf used and the squad that he used was the best squad that he thought would be able to win him games. That is still the main goal that we set for him. We know that he comes from a place where development and academy players was probably even more important than winning games. That was the largest academy, I think, in Europe. They don't have many resources, so they really do depend on bringing their players through the system. So we know that he has that in his toolkit, but there was not sort of a top-down pressure to say you have to play young players, especially in an environment where the roster was impacted by injuries in those first few games. So I know that he gave Mackay Joyner minutes because he felt that he was ready. And, I think he's proved he's done really, really well with us and, of course, with City 2. And that's what we want to see, young players that come up and are ready.
Jeremy, online.
Good afternoon, everybody. A couple of questions for both of you or whoever wants to answer. The first one, with 11 players on the first team out of contract at the end of the season, how important is it to get things in order to prepare for what could be a lot of changes heading into 2026? And then secondly, with all of that said, how much pressure do both of you feel in terms of making this coaching search one that can be successful?
With regards to the players, there is lots of players who are running out, but we have, I think apart from 2, maximum 3, we have an option for another year. So this is completely, the ball is in our court. This gives us enough time to see how players perform in training and also on the field. Is there already a lot of thought behind who we definitely want to keep or who we want to renew? 100%. But I think also the current results also must be for us a way to look where we can strengthen the squad very clearly. So, it's not always a must to exercise an option. And if you see there is a player out there who makes us better, if there is different ways of making our squad in general more competitive and being improved, it doesn't change actually anything from every of the transfer windows who coming up or were in the past. We always want to improve. The summer window is for us, of course, a big one. That's where you're getting a huge amount of players worldwide out there who will be available, much, much more. I think more than 80% more players you will get available in the summer than in the winter, which makes it sometimes not that easy to get top players into MLS. So we definitely already working hard behind the scenes on that one, how the roster construction will look for next year. With look to the coaching surge, there is always pressure. And when I wake up in the morning, I have pressure, and when I go to sleep, I have pressure. I think this is very normal if you work in professional sports. So it's a normal thing. I mean, it's just when you want to sign a player, there is also the same pressure if you want to find the right coach. So we work hard on that. As we say, the reflection here is important. I will say it one more time that I will take full responsibility for that. And this is where we want to go out there now and get it right. But the pressure is not bigger than before, because in the end of the day, nobody is bigger than the club. It's always about club first. And we want that the club is as successful as possible. And that are the most important decisions to get right. It's the roster and it's the coaches. Simple as that. And that's what we're working on.
Ben, go ahead.
Similar to Justin's question, and for either of you, please, you make such a big deal about your style of play. What was Olaf's explanation for not playing your style of play, especially once you started losing a bunch or not winning a bunch?
Yeah, I mean, go back to that, Ben. We had obviously a lot of talks and a lot of meetings prior, and we discussed that. Diego mentioned it. The coach makes the final decision on match day who plays. And there is discussions before and after the game how we want to play, but every coach wants to get the maximum out at the maximum is results. And if the coach decides that the first 11 he picks or the style he wants to play in this moment, he does it to get wins. And that was the reason why Olaf decided to select the way he selected. I think that's a pretty simple one.
I would also add, like when we've had lots of conversations with him, he was always very clear around that this isn't his natural desired style of play either. The style of play that he played, his teams played before coming here. But he was also pragmatic around trying to find the best way to win games. And that's what he felt was the best way to win games.
Matt, one quick one and then finish up with Tom.
I want to follow up on that last point. Olaf was upfront about this style of play not being his preferred style. I'm confused on some of the comments that you made when you hired him in the fit to the style, aligning with what your goals were. So can you elaborate on that lack of fit?
That's exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, before, when you look at his teams, he played a style of play that is very similar to the style of play that St. Louis City has. That's what I'm saying. There was consistency. You can see it in the data. You can see it in the eye test. This is, of course, what Lutz and his team look really carefully at when it comes to the philosophy and the importance of the game model. So I think we just didn't see that translate over to St. Louis City, and he recognized it.
Go ahead, Tom.
What's the concern you guys have about just the number of injuries you guys have? And some like Berkey's hand or fluky things, but there's a lot of other injuries, and this is the second year in a row you've had a lot. Well, what do you have to do about that?
Yeah, if we really analyzing that, I think with BJC and with Washington University, we have some great partners. It's some of the best medical facility and doctors you can get in the country. I have a strong belief that you have a really, really good medical team. If you're looking at the way our injury list goes down, there is no real consistency. We have a few muscle injuries, yes, but we have a lot of contact injuries. And if somebody breaks a little bone in the foot, or Roman Bürki makes a great save one day before the game and breaks a tiny bone in his hand, then it is very difficult to protect or prevent an injury like that. So if he would have 6 or 7 hamstrings and it has a clear muster in it where everybody knows, well, this is the problem, that is what you can fix. Our injuries are left, right, and center and completely unpredictable. Yeah, it is alarming. I do agree. It did cost us the season last year as well, because we were never able to field our 100% squad, and it just went into preseason. If a player like, giving a good example, Jay Reid, 2 days before we start our season, he has a personal training session in New York, and he has a shot, and he breaks a little bone in his foot. well, now I could say, well, why are you training with a personal trainer on that day? I think it's a great effort to come and be ready and be fit. That's things what happened to us, unfortunately, and then a player missing 8, 9, 10 games. So yeah, it's a tough one, but we definitely keep on looking into that. We're trying to make it, but you can't put them in cotton candy and hope that they don't get injured. They need to be on the training field. They need to work hard, and when the injury bug bites you, sometimes you have to deal with it. Having said that, it's not an excuse. There's other teams with injuries as well. And the young boys or the players who are not starters need to step up. That you don't always get the results you want out of it, purely performance-wise, also result-wise, is a clear thing. But injuries are right now. We have to deal with it the way it is.
Lutz, Diego, thanks. We have coach coming in now. So thank you guys for your time.
Thank you guys.